Wait till the folks come in. There we go.
How do we know they're in?
You want this one?
Yep, that's great. That's great.
This is a little bit tight.
Yeah, I don't know when to bother with that. You and I are so close to each other. That's all right.
Nobody cares.
No.
Okay, you don't care.
All right, so I think we can go ahead and get started. We are, for those of you who are joining us, hello, welcome. We are the Center for Law and Social Justice, and we are here to have a little mini conversation with you all today about the New York State Constitutional Convention. I am Laree Daniel Favors. I'm the General Counsel at the Center for Law and Social Justice, and it is my pleasure to be speaking with my Executive Director, Attorney Esmeralda Simmons, who has been leading the charge here at CLSJ for the past 30 plus years. And we wanted to really have a conversation about the election that's taking place tomorrow. Did you know there was an election taking place tomorrow?
I'm an election lawyer, voting rights lawyer. Yes! There's an election tomorrow. Come out and vote.
Please come out and vote. Even if nothing you've heard before now would motivate you to do so, I hope that our little conversation today is going to be enough to at least get you thinking about not just taking yourself, getting your spouse, your family, your friends, and dragging them to the polls so that we can really protect the state of New York, or a black New York, of all New York. We're really trying to be as progressive and helpful as we possibly can. So hopefully the information today will help discuss a little bit about that. So you recently wrote an article on the Constitutional Convention and came out really strongly, very clearly in the negative. We should not be moving forward with voting for the Constitutional Convention. So before we even dive into the why not, can you explain what is CONCON? Why should a central Brooklyn resident care about CONCON? What is all of this discussion about?
CONCON is what folks that are familiar with elections in New York State have dubbed the 20-year-old phenomenon. Every 20 years there has to be a referendum in New York State to the voters, asking them whether they want to have a constitutional convention. Constitutional convention, therefore CONCON. We tell you, don't be conned by CONCON. All right, because this is a very serious thing, folks. What you have to understand is that the Constitutional Convention doesn't have to happen. This is a vote by you, the voters, to say whether or not you think we need to have a constitutional convention. And this is really, I don't want you to be conned, because this is really not whether we need to have a constitutional convention. It's really about whether we can risk having a constitutional convention. There's lots of things that we all would like to see change, but the way that the Constitutional Convention is going to operate, we don't think there's anything good that's going to come out of this. Instead, we're very fearful that some of the good things in the New York State Constitution that we'll talk about will be erased. And that the regular voter will have very, very little to say about what happens in this convention. All they'll get to do is to vote the whole thing up, yes or no, after it's all over. But no substantive effect on the contents.
So you're saying this is a decision on the ballot that comes every 20 years. So this isn't the first time that this has shown up. And I think you were actually a part of the last Constitutional Convention discussion where you actually were able to serve as a delegate. So you've seen this from all sides, from the inside.
That was a colossal waste of time and money. I was actually a state employee at the time, a deputy director for human rights for the state of New York. I was appointed as a delegate, and myself and several other civil rights attorneys went, and we were like, what is this? And has anything, why are we here? Why are we spending all this time away from the office when absolutely very, very little got accomplished? I can't say that we were able to save the good welfare clause, we were able to save the education clause, but we all wondered, why did this ever happen? And this time, we're all clear. I mean, progressive across the state have said it. Don't vote no.
That's right.
No constitutional convention. Why are we saying no? Usually we're all about, let's have it, let's do something about democracy. Well, folks, ever since the Supreme Court case of Citizens United, anything that we thought would have been a democratic process, small d, has turned into how much money can big business and lobbyists, special interests, how much money can they pour into a process to make sure it goes their way? And the Supreme Court has said that's perfectly fine. So we're not so much concerned about what Joe Schmo from Rochester or somebody from Brooklyn is going to say. We're concerned that all of these folks are going to be influenced, particularly elected officials who are so dependent on donations in order to run for government, run for election, we're concerned that people will be highly influenced by big money getting involved in the process. That's not what the Constitutional Convention was meant to be. It was supposed to be a convention of New Yorkers, voters, and other voters and interested persons, elected officials, etc. Not big lobbyists versus the Joe citizen.
Right. So now you mentioned a few clauses, the welfare clause, the education clause. These are all parts of the Constitution. And a lot of people just may not know what the Constitution covers. So if we were to have a constitutional convention, we're basically saying everything that's in the Constitution is up for debate.
Grabs.
Up for grabs, up for debate.
Grab is the real word.
Grab, snatch, and remove. So what are some of those things that are in the Constitution right now that could be toyed with, could be deleted, could be removed? Right now.
Well, I'm a voter, so something that's in the Constitution that we have relied upon is that, and it stopped them from creating photo IDs in New York. Is a Constitution. New York State Constitution says that a citizen can vote by signature alone. So all of this ID stuff that's gone on in other states has not happened in New York
because of that provision.
Because of that provision. Take the provision out, and New York may go the way of over a dozen states who have already put in ever since they got rid of Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, put in these ID laws, and then everyone has to go to court to get rid of the ID laws. And nothing happens good. Nothing good happens out of it. Other thing that's in there is a right for a sound basic education in the New York State Constitution. That constitutional provision is what has allowed a major lawsuits and, thank God, some money to filter down to New York City and other parts of the states where education is not funded by real estate taxes. So because of that provision, the Court of Appeals has said that New York State has to give students in New York City and other major metropolitan areas an education that's at least equivalent to an 8th grade education. There was a lawsuit, a campaign for fiscal equity, great lawsuit, major victory. We're still fighting to get some of that money, but the fact is that the Constitution was the reason why we were able to win that case.
The Constitution, which could be, that phrase of the Constitution, which could be edited out. Right, there you go. And we know with our current Secretary of Education, there is a lot of money flowing into education policy, a lot of money flowing from out of state into a variety of municipal coffers to really try to shift the way people think and respond to these issues.
New York has a very, very controlled law around the number of charter schools, around the way education is operated in New York State. All of that could go out.
All of this is on the table.
It's on the table.
Okay.
Also on the table, the state has a constitutional provision in which it says it should look out for the good and welfare of its residents, and that has been the clause that has allowed major social service provisions to be enacted in New York State. Why New York State has long been looked at as a benefactor state for people who need safety nets. I don't have to tell you where the federal government's going with this.
That's right.
And let me roll back a little bit. Why this big excitement? People have actually said that this is the biggest thing happening in this election tomorrow. Why all this excitement about something happening in New York State, which people basically yawn about? Because the battle for government, the battle for justice, the battle for democracy has shifted from the federal government to local and state governments.
That's right.
This is huge, folks. If we want New York State to still be the Excelsior State forever forward, we better not be going backwards with a vote on the Constitutional Convention that allows it to go forward, because it's only a Pandora's box.
It sounds like in some ways the New York State Constitution is even more protective than the federal Constitution.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
It is.
So there is way more to risk here than even at the federal level in some ways.
Thank you. I'm going to say there's just as much to risk, but what is at risk right now is the New York State Constitution.
Yeah.
Hopefully it won't be tomorrow, it won't be the federal Constitution, but right now what's at risk is the New York State Constitution. We urge you to vote no. First, we urge you to vote.
Yes. Let's start there.
Vote and get people out. I don't care if they say, well, there's nothing happening, everyone knows that the incumbent. No, there's something on the back of that ballot.
That's right.
That you need to flip over, vote for that first, and then go back and see who else is running and vote for whoever you choose. We urge you to vote no on the Constitutional Convention. Your vote is powerful. Let's send a signal, not just to Albany, but to Washington, that New Yorkers know what's going on, and we refuse to retrogress.
That's right. Hashtag flip your ballot. If you are in your ballot booth, your voting booth tomorrow, and you don't see that question about the Constitutional Convention, flip it over. Guarantee you it's going to be there. And we definitely, as Ms. Simmons said, urge New Yorkers to really think clearly and think critically about what is at risk. And we urge you to really get involved, even beyond this election day. And we here at the Center for Law and Social Justice provide a variety of opportunities for people to get involved, to get engaged. We are excited about the increase in activism that's taking place and the increasing engagement levels. But we really do urge you to take this very seriously tomorrow when you are in that voting booth, after you've dragged your mom, your grandma, your father, your grandfather, and all your friends and neighbors to the election site with you. We do urge you to vote no on the Constitutional Convention. And if you are having and experiencing any issues in the voting booth tomorrow, here CLSJ is also going to have a voter hotline. You can reach our office at 718-804-8891 for the hotline. And we have a small dedicated team of folks who are here who are able to help if you run into any issues while you're trying to exercise your vote. And we appreciate you guys spending some time with us this afternoon. Any closing comments you have for the audience?
Vote.
Do that. And then vote no on the Constitutional Convention. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget to visit clsj.org, our website. You can follow us online at Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook, clsj.org. Sign up for our mailing list and stay connected. Thanks. Have a good day.